Good evening and thank you for joining us this evening on Worldview. Now today we take a look at South African politics and all its shenanigans. President Zuma's regime has been under serious scrutiny. Well, I'm talking about serious scrutiny here. He has been accused of outright corruption, and yet he was supposed to be the angel to deliver South Africa from poverty and represent the will of the people. Not so long ago, we read in a local newspaper that socialite and businessman Kenny Kunene, well known as the Sushi King because of his lavish lifestyle, wrote an open letter to the president expressing his concerns. Well, that obviously did not settle well with the ruling government, the ANC. Joining me in the studio is Kenny himself. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure and thank you for having me. Okay,
now we get straight into it. You are a self-proclaimed socialite and businessman, correct?
Not self-proclaimed socialite. I think people have named me as such, but yes, I am a businessman.
Okay,
but I'm also a politician now.
Absolutely, and we're getting there slowly.
Yes.
Now, you've spent some years in prison. How did you find fit to enter the business world and be a successful entrepreneur that you are today?
I always say to guys when I speak to them in prisons that society owes you nothing. You wronged society, that's why you went to prison. And don't expect that society will accept you with warm hands. However, I think it is worse than I thought. It's not easy for an ex-offender to come back to the outside and to make it.
Completely,
You are stigmatized as an ex-convict by the media, by society. And when you look for a job, you are stigmatized as such. When you try to do deals, people don't trust you. So it's not easy. But I think the faith that one had and hard work, you know, focusing on what we wanted to achieve. Remember, we started selling my business partner's book, going from school to school, talking about our lives, and selling his book, The Choice, The Gaten Mackenzie Story. And a parent, one child took that book to school, he took the book home. And he said to the father, this book has changed my life. These guys came to school and they spoke to us, and I've been reading this book. And Dad, please help me out. And that father told another person, a friend, and that friend told another friend. And it reached a point where a very successful, wealthy businessman decided that if this is the story that these two guys have done, then I need to meet up with them. And that's the man that actually started. He believed in us. He was impressed by the change. And then he gave us a footing in business.
Okay, now you did speak about being a politician now. What inspires you to be a politician from being a businessman, a socialite? Now we're talking about politics?
I'm still a businessman. I've always been in politics. When I was a student, I was the youngest in the leadership of COSAS in my area. I spent about 6 months in prison for political reasons in 1986.
Okay, so it was actually for political reasons?
Yeah, no. 1986, it was for political reasons. 1997, it was for crime.
Okay.
Yes. So politics has always been a part of me. And I've always spoken to guys when I was in prison about, you know, how South Africa should look like. And unfortunately, when I came out, I realized that with my history of being a gangster and an ex-con, you know, I wouldn't go easily into politics. So I first had to prove myself. So I went into business so that I can make a living. And then I built a brand, Kunene, so that I can create a following. And God blessed every move that I have been engaged in. And here I am now, I can talk politics.
Okay. Now, so one morning we wake up and you announce, and I quote, I am now going full-time into politics as a member of the revolutionary cadre of the Economic Freedom Fighters, and which is now officially a political party with their leader, Julius Malema. We're just going to take a look at a clip where we had a press conference with you earlier on, and he was introducing you. Let's take a look at that.
Members of the Central Command Team is Comrade Floyd Shibambo, Amanda, Comrade Kenny Kunene, Maka, Comrade Sam Chabalala.
Okay, so we see you there being introduced as one of the political leaders. But while you were at the EFF, what policies and reforms did the EFF have that actually gave you, should I say, maybe a bigger picture of outclassing the ANC?
I think that the ANC has abandoned the Freedom Charter, which is a document that was put together by ordinary South Africans.
Okay.
And talking about a South Africa that they envisage. And the ANC was the pioneer. It was the driving force behind the Freedom Charter. Our struggle for liberation was guided by the principles in the Freedom Charter. My understanding of our politics today was that the ANC is moving away from the Freedom Charter or is not aggressively implementing the principles as
How so?
enshrined in the
Maybe
Freedom
would you like
Charter.
to just explain that a little? How so?
Look, the Freedom Charter speaks about those who work the land owning those means of production. The Freedom Charter speaks about workers owning the means of production. The Freedom Charter speaks about the land being shared equally amongst the people. The Freedom Charter speaks about non-racialism. The Freedom Charter speaks about equality, whereby we need to address the inequalities. So it speaks about all those things.
So
But
the
if you
EFF's
look,
policies of the distribution of land without compensation, does that apply to the Freedom Charter, as you say?
Yes. The Freedom Charter, when you speak about land redistribution, you are speaking about you have to implement aggressive measures because no one will just hand over land. Although they have stolen it, even somebody who has stolen your car, you don't just come out and say, you who have stolen my car, bring my car back. You have to look for that car, and when you find that person, you take your car back. However, I am no longer with the EFF, so I cannot talk much about what
Their
the
policies
EFF
and their reforms.
said. Yes, but I can talk about policies that I believe should work for this country. If you look at the Constitution of South Africa, it speaks to question of land. So the question of land is not a new thing. It is in the Constitution where the Constitution states that we need to have a redistribution of land, because the reality is land has been stolen from black people, land has been stolen from colored people, land has been stolen from the Khoisan people. That is a reality. And if we do not address that reality within the ambits of law, you are going to have the same situation as Zimbabwe. Now, but if you say ANC is 20 years.
The same situation of Zimbabwe where they redistributed land and it seemed like the whole picture was painted black. Is that what you're referring to?
What I'm saying to you is, if you look at Zimbabwe, the Lancaster agreement between Britain and the Zimbabwean government was such that do not take anything. We will put in money, invest in the Zimbabwean economy so that you guys can grow the economy together. That's what Britain said to the Zimbabweans. 18 to 20 years down the line, the people started taking land back. And Robert Mugabe had two options. It's either he arrested those who took the land, or he followed what the voice of the masses was. And the voice was, these people have lied to us for 20 years. It's time that we should take back. So we are saying, I'm saying, we need to address these issues within the ambits of the law. Because if we don't, the masses will grow tired. The masses will then say, we do not want to hear about your law anymore. Let your law be the way that we are now doing things practically. And they will take over. I went to Forgeville, a small town here in Gauteng, where the municipality wanted to buy land twice. They bought land from a white boy so that they can build people houses there. They put infrastructure. The boy died. When they were supposed to build houses, the mother of the boy said, no. Here is documentation. Here is legal paperwork. This is my land. You have to pay again. Then the courts, people want land. So the people of Forgeville ended up going on a protest. And that is wrong. You can't have one person holding the majority of the people to ransom for shelter, when government has got a responsibility to give people shelter.
Okay,
That is wrong.
I'm going to take you back a bit to the EFF party before we actually move on to what you are doing independently now. Julius Malema has a reputation of being a very controversial and outspoken person, especially towards President Jacob Zuma. Now, what I want to know is, what kind of a relationship did you have with him to be in cahoots against the current government?
I was not in cahoots with Julius. You must remember that even when I was just a business person outside of politics, I was more closer to the youth league of the ANC.
Led by Julius Malema.
Led by Julius Malema. So, but we were not that close. It was always about political closeness. It was about when we have the marches, when there are rallies, when there are meetings. It was always a political relationship.
Then it was still under the ANC. But
Yes.
now, because he had now left the ANC, and like I did say that, very controversial, very outspoken towards the president himself, what then made you think that you would still be able to support him against a government that you once supported, that he also once supported?
If you read what Nelson Mandela once said, he said that if the ANC does to you what apartheid did to us, you must do to the ANC what we did to apartheid. It's because he's a visionary. He knows that liberation movements can have individuals or people who might just take a detour from the vision of the organization. And if that happens, you need to take a step back and say, we need to challenge you. Now, I believe that the ANC has become arrogant, and that is evident in the many protest marches that we have. And I just believe that the ANC is not working as much as it should in order to transform the lives of people on the ground. Hence, they don't act against the mayors, the municipal managers, the councillors, who do not respond to the needs of the people on the ground. So sometimes I see the ANC as an older brother who used to take you to school, you used to believe in him, used to wipe your nose, but now he has become all arrogant. He's kicking everybody in the house. He doesn't listen to anyone. Now you must move out of the house and get yourself a flat and organize yourself so that you are able to grow and be able to challenge your brother so that he does not kick your younger brothers. So that is how I see the ANC. The ANC is not the enemy. However, if you cannot make an input that makes serious difference in the ANC, you have to move out and challenge the ANC from the outside within the ambit of the law through the polls. And that is why I joined EFF.
But you have now left EFF. So
Yes.
what made you actually leave EFF after having supported their policies and reforms in the first place?
Look, politics are about rhetoric and building up. So when you put up policies there, you are then saying, these are the policies, but how do we implement these policies? How do we go about doing things? And that is where you will see whether you agree or you do not agree. However, what made me leave EFF was, I think politics in our country are still based on one's political involvement in the past. And I came with a different type of angle, from a different type of angle, let me put it that way. I went into EFF with a following already. Many politicians are made by positions, by political positions. That's what makes them. That's what defines their reputation. My reputation is defined by me because I built my own brand. So when I went into politics, I went with a following as a brand. And now some people within the leadership were uncomfortable with the type of applause and the type of response that I got from the masses every time we are out there publicly. And realizing that some of them were now not focusing on what we are doing, but trying to see how can they get me to the back seat. I realized that this organization is going to be divided. We are going to have another cope. And I don't want to be a subject of division. Because power, I have power. I don't need politics to give me power. I have money power. Okay. So with money power, political power is nothing. And I said, let me rather resign from the leadership so that, this uncomfortable situation is addressed. But after I left leadership, members, after reading this article, started phoning in. The national coordinator phoning me, phoning other...
To ask you to come back?
And to say, why has Kenny resigned? We don't recognize that resignation. He's our leader. So I decided to resign from membership so that the organization can focus on its aims and objectives, its manifesto, its vision.
That you
because
are not part
I am
of.
not the type of guy who would hustle for power.
Okay.
However, I am busy now putting together a political vehicle that will speak to what I think are the needs of our people out there. And I am working with different people. It is not about me. It is about the injustices that are out there, and it is about saying we need to get involved and address this. Our politics, and I must say this with all humility, most of our politicians go into politics very hungry, and their motive is to make as much money as possible. That's why there's so much rampant corruption. And I think we need to move to a situation where people who are blessed with a few cents get into politics, so that money is not the objective, but service delivery is the objective.
Okay, now let's talk about the open letter to President Zuma. You seem to have expressed a whole lot of very sensitive issues there.
Yes.
It's like you went all out in that letter. What was that all about? And did you actually achieve what you wanted to achieve by writing that letter?
Yes, I did. When we campaigned for Jacob Zuma, it was about him being a man of the people on the ground. And with his humble beginnings, we thought that he would move away from satisfying or trying to please white monopoly capital like the previous president. However, he turned out to be different to what we thought, or he was maybe distracted from what we thought he would be. And out of what the ANC members are saying, including some of the people in high ranks of the ANC who have access to the president, the things that they say in private where we are about the president. And when you ask, but why don't you speak to the president?
Directly?
Why don't you guys address these issues with the president in the NEC or in private? No. Hey, this guy is this. So my letter was expressing my frustration because I felt that the president was not acting as aggressively as he should to some of these issues. And there's a lot of things that were happening around him to weaken, by other people, to weaken his leadership. And weakening his leadership is weakening the ANC. So
we really don't have much time,
yes,
unfortunately.
But I had to write a hard-hitting letter so that the president can get the frustration that the people have on the ground. And I achieved that because I met the president and we spoke about it.
Okay. Now, we just have 2 more questions that we can quickly round up before we close. You did mention as well at some point in the local reports that you were threatened by the government when you joined the EFF?
No. Not the government.
Okay.
After I wrote the letter to the president, yes, I had some people calling. It's normal.
Is it people within the government, the ANC government?
No. It's individuals, obviously to be members of the ANC.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean it's the ANC that is threatening me. It's individuals who would do that. It's normal. We see every day where ANC and EFF members fight. But you see, that's what the white system has created for us, to keep fighting against each other. That's what they have created. And we need to move away from politics of personalities and speak policies so that we educate our people on the ground to say, this is what you need to look for in a politician. Talk about the character of the organization, the character of the leader that you want, and what is it that he is promising, and what is it that he can deliver realistically. Because some of the promises are very unrealistic.
Unrealistic,
Yes.
that's it. Now, quickly, just to round up, you are known as the Sushi King.
Yes.
Popularly known as the Sushi King in South Africa because you've had some very lavish parties that you've thrown, eating sushi from bellies of half-naked women, and then, of course, your stories of so many other girlfriends following and divorcing your wife publicly. Now, what kind of a leader do you think you will be in the society?
What would you... my wife publicly.
Announced it, yes.
Yes, but I responded.
Okay.
You see, history has taught us, even the Bible has taught us. A lot of people don't read the Bible. God has never used sissy boys. All the prophets that God used to lead his people, they all had a certain past that people wouldn't appreciate of. Moses was a murderer. Noah was a drunkard. David was a womanizer who would even connive to put a man in front of in an army to have him killed to have his wife.
So is that your defense?
Paul was Saul who persecuted Christians. Yet God turned those men to lead his people. Malcolm X in the United States was a pimp. He was a drug dealer. He ran an illegal gambling. However, he came out to be one of the renowned politicians in his lifetime. Up until now, we still quote him. So, don't judge me by my past. Judge me for what I can do. The life that people talk about. Politicians host parties every day. Parliament hosts the biggest party in Cape Town every day. They buy clothes with our money. So you cannot judge me based on my private lifestyle when it is done publicly by everyone, even in politics. So I am saying, if I could be transparent with my private life, with the women that I had, with my lavish lifestyle, then it means I'll also be transparent with my political lifestyle. So you need to say, this is the type of man that we are looking for to lead us, because he's very open about everything. There is nothing that he will hide. By the way, I will still continue to have my birthday parties. I'm having them this month. There's nothing that says a politician or a pastor mustn't have birthdays. You get scandals about pastors. Scandals. My life was never a scandal. So I would be a new politician with a new vision for a new generation.
Okay, unfortunately, we have run out of time. It would have been nice if we had one more hour to speak about what we wanted to speak. But all the same, thank you so much for coming. And we hope to talk to you more about your aspiring political career. In fact, you have it going already, as is maybe the things that you've done in the community and how you've developed from there. So we will definitely have a second part. Well, to our viewers, there you have it. That was Kenny Kunene telling you about what he stands for and what he represents. Thank you for watching the Inside Probe on Worldview. Good evening.